Shane Beamer might not win a national championship this season. He might not win an SEC championship this season. But what he will do each and every season is beat Kentucky because he owns Mark Stoops. South Carolina wins 35-13. We talk about it in the Instant Overreaction Show right now.
You are Locked On Gamecocks, your daily podcast on the South Carolina Gamecocks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Locked On Gamecocks. I'm your host, Chris Marler, and I hope everyone is having a fantastic Sunday night, Monday morning, whenever you're listening to this. I know I am, and we all should be, because South Carolina gets a big win, goes to 3-2 on the season, and beats Kentucky for a fourth straight year. We're going to talk about all of it. Before we do, I want to say thank you to everyone making Locked On Gamecocks your first listen each and every day. Shout out to our everydayers. Remember, we're a free and available podcast wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now, today's episode brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. And I can vouch for that because we did that this weekend in the house. Fun little fiance game that we played. And I don't think we've ever argued this much about parlays in my life. But it's been a lot of fun, I will say that. So, a lot to get into, and all of it, for the most part, good. There's still some things that they could shore up. But last night was a fantastic win. I want to start, though, with a little bit of pettiness because I love being petty. You guys probably know that by now. And I apologize. We didn't do the show immediately after the game, so it's not an instant overreaction, even though the title says that. Because, we had ourselves a Saturday night, and I think I drank about all the Fireball in the Tri-County area. So, but we had a great time, and it was a great game. And we talked about this going into the game, okay? Talk about this going into the game. How to change the narrative, how to turn some of the narratives on their head with what South Carolina has done so far this season. You came into the game ranked 99th or worse in like almost every major offensive statistical category. And if we're being honest, it wasn't like all the things were corrected on offense. You still only scored 21 points, I believe, on offense, which isn't great, but it's also more than they've had in any game under Shula so far. So that was a positive. I keep waiting for the day that Kentucky and Mark Stoops are going to learn to not let this sleeping dog lie. And that's South Carolina and Shane Beamer. I don't get it. He ran his mouth a couple of off seasons ago, and they had the whole sunglass comment and TikTok dances and whatever. You lost that game, right? And let's also be clear, like you've lost like 4 in a row to South Carolina, and I think only one of them was in single digits. And then you had in the postgame interview, Shane Beamer comes out and says one of their coaches said that they don't know anything about Beamer ball because Beamer ball is something that's about his dad at Virginia Tech. And then he pointed to the scoreboard and said, "Well, I guess we'll see." This game was so needed. It was so needed from South Carolina. Like from a confidence boost standpoint, from like righting some wrongs, from getting some stuff figured out, but also proving to yourself, hey, we can go win football games. We can still be a really good football team. And they proved they are. They proved they can be, I guess is probably a better way to put it. There's a lot of things that I'm impressed with. I do want to start with this too, though. How about the moment for Connor Shaw? I'm not going to tear up, but the goosebumps, I mean, pregame, celebrity game starter, coming out of the cockaboose, Connor Shaw, first thing out of his mouth, praise Jesus, Gamecocks fight till the very end. My God, what a scene, dude. What a scene for South Carolina fans in Williams-Brice Stadium. That place came unglued after that. And it was just awesome. It was awesome. And I think that was a great start to the night. And then the team made sure they finished it. There's so many weird storylines in this game. And I think people think that it's like a throwaway, oh yeah, South Carolina blew out a bad team. But like there's the thing about, McGowan throwing the football and it being at LaNorris Sellers' grandpa. Like there's like the trash talk I told you about with BEAMER and BEAMER ball and all that kind of stuff. Like There's just so many things that happened during this game last night that were kind of felt like they were part of the story that I don't know where to begin. But I will say what I was most impressed with was this. You come into the game, you know what you need to work on, you know what you need to fix. First thing was tackling. The concerns that you had. Yes, Kentucky was starting a freshman quarterback on the road. They also had a two-headed monster at running back that you needed to figure out a way to slow down. Now, McGowan got his yards. 17 carries, 112 yards, and a touchdown. They scored on the very first drive when they were scripted and coming off a bye week. That maybe that should have been expected. But they go right down the field on you in the very first drive of the game. And then you look up the rest of the way, and they go 8 plays, 65 yards in 3.5 minutes, and it's 7-0. I don't even think they switched over the coverage yet on ESPN because the game before it was going late. Because of Tennessee, Mississippi State. So that was a lot. And then South Carolina does what South Carolina has done for most of the season, which is score on script. 12 plays, 75 yards, right back down the field. And then you end up giving up a field goal. So you're down 10-7 in the first quarter. And it's kind of looking like, okay, we're going to be in a back and forth. But there wasn't anything that was super concerning. You punt. And then that's when things became fun because before you even had a chance to sit here and be like, oh, God, here we go again, someone stepped up and someone made a play. And I hear a lot of the frustration with the offense, and I'm fine with there being frustration about the offense. I get it. I genuinely get it. But the frustration about the offense, yes, you've had a team score 14 points, or you've had your special teams and defense score 14 points again for you, right? Happened against South Carolina State. It happened with 7 points against Virginia Tech. I get it. But those points count. It's not like they come on with an asterisk on the scoreboard. And what I was hoping to see from this team was to come out on fire, come out, punch them in the mouth. They got punched. They traded blows in the first quarter, and then figure out a way to right the ship and correct the wrongs, right? Or right the wrongs is probably a better way to have phrased it. And they did. I mean, they did. They got up after the blocked or the fumble return for the touchdown. Then they had the pick six, and you're up 21-10. But you go into that second quarter, you're down 10-7. They scored 3 points the rest of the game. I didn't see anywhere close to any broken tackles. Then they got some yards. I mean, McGowan, 17 carries for 112 yards. I'm not going to even try to do the math off the top of my head because we all know how it's going to end. But that is over 5 yards a carry. Here, let's just do it real quick. And remember, this is a two-headed monster you were trying to stop. That's over 6.5. It's 6.59 yards per carry. Not great, but you didn't see him also breaking a bunch of tackles. He had 120-yard run. That was the longest one of the day. Dante Dowdle, number 2, 13 carries, 24 yards. You kept him in check. You didn't have anything that was like the explosives. You have a 53-yard catch to Willie Rodriguez. And then outside of that, you had 2 receivers. Kendrick Law, former kid from Bama, had a catch for 11 yards. Jamori Macklin had a catch for 10. You held Cutter Boley to 10 of 19 for 124 yards. You had a freshman quarterback that was coming into his first SEC game, and you had him in they got after his ass all night. He ran for his life against that defense, which brings me to my next point. The 2 biggest things we were concerned about coming into this game besides the run defense. That's a Kentucky offensive line that only allowed 3 sacks coming into the game, right? And they played Ole Miss, and we saw Ole Miss yesterday. They played a pretty good game against Ole Miss. So, allowed only 3 sacks, only had 2 turnovers. At the end of the first half, South Carolina had 3 sacks and 4 turnovers forced. They ended the game with 6 total sacks, and then also I think they only allowed 2, I want to say, and 4 turnovers forced. Even more important than that, they continued this streak where we talk about them winning the turnover battle. They win the turnover battle a lot because they get so many turnovers. But this year, they've won the turnover battle, and they've done so by having 4 of their 5 games without a single turnover, right? The only game, they have 4 turnovers in the year. All of them came against Vanderbilt. Those are ways you win football games, right? You let the other team make mistakes, and you know that you're not going to. That is a much easier place to play from. Now, when we come back, We're going to talk about some of these unsung heroes that deserve a ton of praise, especially that offensive line, and then especially Vandrevius Jacobs, who has emerged as the go-to player, I think, in this passing game. And, of course, LaNorris Sellers. We talked about what Mike Shula needed to do offensively, what we all thought he should do offensively. And it seems like for the most part, he did some of those things in this game. So we're going to go to a quick break, pay some bills. When we come back, we're going to talk about all those things in our overreaction, all over the place, very non-organized or structured is a better way to put it. It's definitely organized because I've been planning to do the show, but non-structured post-game show. I hope you guys are enjoying it. I hope you guys stay around for afterwards. Before we do that, before we go to break, I want to give a quick shout out to 5 Hour Energy. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade because 5 Hour Energy shots, they just deliver. They deliver, and they also deliver caffeine, and they deliver tasty caffeine more than that in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the same amount of caffeine in a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee. That's 200 milligrams of caffeine, plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar and 0 crashes. That last part is the best part, by the way, 0 crashes. What I love most is how portable they are. And also the taste, big taste, tiny shot. You can take it anywhere and get the boost when you need it most. Yesterday I was having a little lull around 2 o'clock. Decided to run up to the Circle K, go grab myself a 5 Hour, got myself a tropical burst, and hit the ground running for the rest of the day. Took me right up through kickoff for the South Carolina game and was fine through the rest of the night. Enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5 Hour Energy shots. Get the favorites you love or be bold and try something new in store and online at www.5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. We'll be right back after this with more Locked On Gamecocks. All right. So, man, let's talk about again the narrative and all that kind of stuff. Because I thought those defensive ends played out of their minds last night. Brian Thomas Jr. 2 sacks. Dylan Stewart a sack, two tackles for loss. JT Gear, man, 1 sack, one tackle for loss. Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy had a TFL. Nick Barrett had a sack. He had 6 sacks, 2 of them. I was really excited about this, probably overly excited. You had 2 of them coming from the interior defensive line, which is something we talked about, right? Like Devontae Miles got the other one. Something we talked about because last year you had not only so many good players in the interior defensive line and veteran leadership and experience and production that you lost to the NFL with what you had to replace there, but the production they had from a sack standpoint, which is not something a lot of interior defensive linemen are able to do. That was great to see that a third of your sacks last night came from that position, not just the defensive ends. The edge rushers are playing with more and more confidence each week. Dylan Stewart played phenomenal last night, in my opinion. I thought it was a great defensive effort. You look at who led the team. There was nobody that had like double-digit tackles or anything like that, but Fred Johnson was all over the field. He had 6 tackles before. 4 of them were solo. Justin Okoronkwo, 4 tackles as well. He's been, I think, probably one of the most underrated players in the entire conference at that position this year. I thought it was great. Gerald Kilgore, it was great to see him bounce back after a tough week the week before with interception. Cisse also had an interception. Let's see here. Bakari Swain had -5 yards in punt returns, which is probably the best, the only positive you can have besides McGowan that Kentucky had all night. Let's see here. A little bit of struggles in the kicking game. Average around 37 yards per punt, but that's whatever. Did complete a pass, though, for Mason Love. But the story that I was most excited about was the offensive line. And the offensive line, what we needed to see, I didn't need to see them go out there and necessarily road grade people and run over people and have us, rush for over 200 yards. I would love to see that. We all would love to see that. I think we're also, if we're being honest, at a point where it's like, that's probably not going to happen. Pepper, what'd you think? She was fired up. Okay. There you go. There's Pepper. Her daily appearance on the show. No, so I think that we all kind of know that's not going to happen at this point, which is fine if you have an identity, and they were able to establish an identity. I kept saying this too with Missouri. It felt like you were going in such a big uphill battle. I didn't think they were going to win necessarily. but you needed to see positive steps forward after the beatdown that Vandy gave you. Like positive steps forward. Hey, and by the way, like let's be very clear. You're 3-2, not where we want to be. The 2 losses so far are the teams that are undefeated. And it's not the best. Like, I'm not trying to have moral victories here because it's only going to get more difficult. South Carolina in their next 5 games plays 5 teams that are currently ranked in the top 13. They play 4 straight games against top 10 teams. So it's going to be a tough road. But I love the fact of the building blocks that we saw last night. The offensive line, I believe they didn't have a single penalty against them. I'm almost positive somebody on Twitter that told me that. So it's got to be true. But also only allowed 2 sacks. Now, there were some times where LaNorris was kind of running around for his life, but at the same time, I thought he was great. I thought he was great. 11 of 14. So the completion percentage was, let's make sure we double check it. 78.6% completion percentage. Not a ton of yards, but he was very, very efficient and extended plays like we saw him. He was back into that 2024 mode where he's extending plays, finding guys downfield. I got very upset in the first half when he broke a tackle in the backfield. I think it was either a linebacker or a corner blitz from the weak side. And he came in and he ducks, does the whole thing. Guy goes flying by and he's running. And it's like 3rd and 9, I want to say, or 3rd and 11. And he slid about a yard or 2 short. And I thought I was going to break my TV because it's like, brother, lean forward. You're so big and you're so powerful and you're so strong. And I think he knew it because after that, it was like a light, just like a switch was flipped. And the way he played the rest of that game was ferocious, like relentless. Any sort of word you want to use to describe it, I think would be in play. It was awesome. It was awesome. And again, like you didn't have a ton of yards. You only had 341 yards of offense. You didn't need a ton. And what you did that you needed to do more than anything was you got ahead and you put your foot on someone's throat, and that was it. Like you were up 28-10 at the half. You scored a touchdown in the fourth quarter. It was good to see Faison in the run game going a little bit more than it had been. Again, not gaudy numbers by any means. Fuller, I loved Fuller. Like Faison found the end zone is my main thing. Fuller getting 19 carries. Good. Loved it. Reward the kid. This should be an open competition a little bit right now. Attaway, 7 for 26. A couple times where Attaway's running, and it's like, just need you to get the first, man. Just need you to get the first down. There's still a couple of things with just situational awarenesses that the offense needs to kind of focus in and lock in on. But again, 48 carries for 178 yards. I was in the camp that I thought this team was going to come out and throw the football all over the field against Kentucky. I think I said, I was like, if it means you have to have him throw for 40 times, do it. Let him go win you a football game. He did have to go win you a football game. But he only had 28 total plays, 14 passes, 14 rushes, 14 carries for 81 yards. Didn't have a single touchdown, which, again, fine. Would we rather have a Heisman, or would we rather have, at this point, like an 8-9 win season? Probably a Heisman. Actually, it's a bad example. It's probably a bad example. I guess my point I'm trying to make is this. It's a really bad point. I guess my point I'm trying to make is this. We need to win games, and you want to have Sellers be great and get, as many touchdowns as possible and have a great season, all that kind of stuff. But what you needed more than anything in this game was to find a way to win and learn to win and prove to yourself that you were able to do that. And they did. So I thought he was great. At the end, I thought the defense was great. And the offensive line only giving up 2 sacks. It didn't feel like there was a ton of pressure. You look at the PFF stats from last night, and it was Josiah Thompson had his best game of the season, which was great. That's great to see. Like they were playing with fire. They were playing with a lot more passion, and like you could just tell the energy was up. And I was very concerned about that because this thing had a chance to go sideways. Guys. Like if they come out flat or just not focused on some of the stuff that they need to do, which they have against Vandy. And they have, look, think about how quickly the Vandy game got out of hand after LaNorris went down. Like, obviously you had to play that game without your best player, but everyone lost their composure. You found yourself in a fight early on, and you found a way to go win the game. And I think that was it's just like it cannot. It sounds so stupid and cliche, but it cannot be stressed enough how big of a deal that was. It just can't. So, I'm gonna look up some numbers here real quick. This is from. Oh, hold on. Where's the actual game reports? Well, we'll look it up in a second. This is bad radio. Before we get into that, and I'm going to say look at big picture things, next steps, and give out some game balls and all that kind of stuff. I also, here we go, game reports. We'll talk about that when we come back. Also want to pay some bills real quick, and we'll talk about a big picture look at what happens next year in the season, thoughts on just where the team is heading into the bye week. And I know it's the end of the month, so there's not a ton. There's nothing to look forward to this week. There's no game, but we'll still have obviously shows and a lot to talk about. Before we do that, I want to give a quick shout out. Again, this is to our friends at Quo. It's a new name, but a familiar face. Formerly Open Phone. You guys have heard me talk about them before, and one of the tools that helps make a huge difference for business owners is Quo. Formerly Open Phone. It's the same great business phone system that you've heard me talk about multiple times before. All summer long, we talked about them, and they just have a new name, but the same old fantastic product that can help you in your business. Here's why it matters. Every missed call is money left on the table. So when every customer conversation counts, you need a phone system that helps you stay connected 24/7. Quo is the number one business phone system that streamlines customer communications. It works right through an app on your phone or computer, so no more carrying two phones or relying on a landline. Anything like that. See why over 90,000 businesses trust Quo, formerly Open Phone. Get started for free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/lockedoncollege. That's QUO.com/lockedoncollege. And if you've got existing phone numbers with another service, Quo will port them over at no extra charge. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. Last but not least, we're going to talk about me and my fiance's new favorites. That is FanDuel. Listen, we are going to the month of October here shortly. The NFL season's here, college football's here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. We took advantage of it this weekend, and we had a blast. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com, download the FanDuel app today, and get started. All right, we'll be right back, and we'll finish up with today's episode of Locked On Gamecocks. All right, so 22-point win, cover the spread, which I felt really good about. There was somebody in the comments that was upset with me saying that Kentucky was only going to score 7 points. I didn't say they were going to score 7. I thought they were going to score 17. Some defenses or some offenses were having some luck and some success. Maybe luck's not the way to put it. Some success against Clayton White over the past 2 weeks. Vandy and Missouri. Now, what I want to close the show with is this. What do we know about the team? What do we feel good about? All that kind of stuff. Big picture moving forward. We'll talk more in depth about all this stuff throughout the week. We'll get into some like mid-season type stats, where we're feeling with that, and kind of go through just the lay of the land of where South Carolina sits amongst all those things. We're talking about the blocking grades from Saturday night. Okay, you got to think about this, guys. This is a team that against Missouri gave up 18 pressures on the night. Okay. Against what was it? Vandy? Oh, okay. Apparently against Vandy, they only gave up 3. But they gave up 18 pressures on the night against Mizzou a week ago. I mean, Mizzou got after LaNorris all night long. Last night, you gave up 5. You gave up 5. Only 1 sack that was registered was actually accounted for from the or was blamed the fault of the offensive line. The other was on LaNorris, according to PFF. Listen, the offensive grades from a blocking standpoint, it wasn't anything amazing, right? Marky Anderson, 67.7. Josiah Thompson, 61.2. His pass blocking graded out at an 87.5. I believe that's the highest in his young career. That's all positive stuff. Listen, this is going to sound stupid. Faison, 72.2. Attaway, 76.2. That was a concern last week. The run blocking has to get better. Trayvon Baugh had a really bad game at right guard. But outside of that, guys, it felt like you had a much more improved and much more cohesive unit on the offensive line. I thought that was great. I really thought that was great. Defensively, okay? Defensively, let's talk about defense. Let's talk about missed tackles and compare it to last week. So this week you had 14. No, sorry. Last week you had 14 missed tackles against Missouri. 14 missed tackles. Peyton Williams had 3, Fred Johnson 2, Dylan Stewart 1. I mean, it was all up. And there was no one person that had a horrible game. It was a lot of missed tackles. Last night you had 6. Fred Johnson had 2. Justin Okoronkwo had 1. Bakari Swain had 1. You had 6 total. I mean, in comparison to what you saw a week ago when you had a total of 14, right? You cut that in half and then some. You had 10 against Vandy, right? In week 1 against Vatech, you had 9. So this is your season low that I'm going to count against FBS teams. And I think that's a big deal. And then I talk about the other part of it too is the pressures you were able to get on the quarterback. You had 10 pressures in this game, 6 sacks. And last week, you felt like you couldn't get home a lot. They were running the football more. Statistically, you didn't have as many pressures. It's according to PFF. But as you guys know, and as you guys watch, because you have 2 eyes and I have 4, I mean, that kid ran for his life all night. That never felt like it was going to be a situation where you're going to have a Steven Garcia type 2010 Bama game or like a Diego Pavia type, like, oh my God, who's this guy? And he balls out, right? It didn't feel like it was going to be that type of game ever from a true freshman making a start. But a pretty highly ranked recruit that Kentucky feels pretty confident in, making his first road start. And you did exactly what you're supposed to do if you were in that building. As a fan, as a player, as a coaching staff, you made him uncomfortable all night. 10 of 19 for 112 yards or whatever. That is a phenomenal job. Phenomenal job. So riding the ship, changing the narratives, being better up front defensively, being better up front offensively, but especially defensively, not missing tackles, figuring out a way to get to the quarterback. Could not have been more pleased with how this went. Now you got to figure out a way to regroup, take a week off, get healthier, hopefully, because you've been very banged up. I don't feels like every game you've had at least 3 guys have to get helped off the field. That might just be me irrationally thinking that because it feels like it's been a lot. You get a week off, and then you get to go play LSU at LSU. If you're coming, let me know because we'll be down there, and I'll be the only one in South Carolina garb, I'm sure, but at my job at least. But very excited for that weekend. It'll be really awesome to see some of y'all coming to town, visiting, all that kind of stuff. If you need recommendations on anything like that, let me know. But most importantly, this, guys, you look at the LSU game. They are a beatable team. I stand by this. I wouldn't have said this maybe a couple weeks ago because you just kept waiting for the offense to get better. But if you watch that game against Ole Miss yesterday, LSU is a one-dimensional team. They're a one-dimensional team. They have gone into some weird shell of themselves offensively where and like they have Nussmeier and they have I thought, like on paper, one of the most physically talented receiver rooms in the country. They cannot seem to figure out a way to get those guys going consistently. For one, more frustrating and embarrassing and flat out just bad so far. They have not been able to figure out a way to run the football. Just cannot figure out a way to run the football. And if you are going into that game, their defense is really, really good. You're going to have to figure out a way to dial some stuff up. LaNorris on the road, he's going to make sure he's got to figure out a way to not turn the ball over. But I feel like you've got a foundation to work with here against Kentucky. Let's also keep in mind this. That Kentucky team arguably played Ole Miss closer than LSU did. Okay? So you have some familiar opponents and stuff like that. Kind of. Transitive property. But you look at LSU and in what they do offensively, this is not an unwinnable game. It's not. They are beatable. They are a beatable team. So figure out a way to put that into practice, start gaining some confidence. And I say this over and over again, guys. I don't think everyone was ranked last year. It wasn't like you weren't playing 4 top 10 teams, but 4 of the 6 teams you played last year at the end of the season were ranked. No one thought they were going to go on a 6-game winning streak run last year. I understand it looks different and it's frustrating and all that kind of stuff this year, and there's still a lot to work on. But do not count this team out. There's still a long way to go. We'll see what happens. But after last night's game, again, the things I'm most sure of, they did improve. They turned the corner a little bit and learned how to win. And once again, like we said at the top of the show, Shane Beamer is Mark Stoops' daddy. He owns Kentucky. That is all for today's episode. We'll be back tomorrow with another one. Until then, y'all have a great rest of your Sunday nights or Monday morning. And we'll talk to y'all after that. Go Cox.